So yeah, it's been a while since I last made one of these videos, and I kind of felt inspired. So I'm back on my YouTube journey. Like I am back. I am back making videos now. And I figured the first or one of the first videos, I have no idea when I'm going to release this one, is inspired by the rise of this anti-foreign sentiment that's been happening in Japan. And I thought this was like a perfect time for me to share just what my experience has been like living in Japan. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Terrence Reynolds. I am a software engineer from the USA living in Tokyo, Japan. I will say this, because I've been here for 9 years, it sort of feels like home to me. So my perspective is from someone who is kind of used to it, but I'm going to try my best to like really think about the nuances of my experience to let anyone who plan on traveling here or thinking about moving here or someone who just wants validation because they live here right now. So with that being said, I'm gonna break this video down to 3 parts or 2 parts. I'm not sure. I'm doing this live. Okay, it's the good, the bad, the ugly. So yeah, as we continue, I lived in multiple cities, believe it or not. So Tokyo isn't my first city that I ever lived in. I had a very short time in Fukuoka. I also lived in Kochi, and I lived all around Tokyo, whether it's like the northern Tokyo suburbs or even as far out as Saitama, even that's technically not Tokyo. And now I live somewhere more central. So I think I have a mixed view of what's it like to live in Japan, in Tokyo specifically, but also outside Japan. And for those of you who don't know, if you've never been to Tokyo, Tokyo is not Japan. Tokyo is Tokyo. So a lot of my experience vary depending on if you're in Tokyo and you're out of Tokyo. So let's get into like the goods. So what is this anti-foreign sentiment? I feel like during COVID, Japan was a different place. The country was shut down. There was no tourism and there was very few foreigners here in Japan, besides the ones that already lived there, including myself and many of my peers. And that kind of created a different atmosphere, I would say, in places like Tokyo, Kyoto, and other like major tourist destinations in Japan. It was much quieter. And that's not necessarily due to tourism, because during COVID, if you remember, things are shut down for the most part. Businesses were closing around 7 o'clock and in some cases 6 o'clock. And you can go to a place like Shibuya and like the crossing, which is quote unquote the busiest crossing in the world, would be absolutely empty. It was amazing to see, actually. I remember I had a time where I went to Kyoto and I was able to get all these cool photos in some of the more busy temples, and it was completely empty. It was like nobody on the street. Or I think about the time I went to Disneyland as an example. Like going first off, one of the best things about COVID, if there is one good thing about COVID, is the fact that Disneyland was completely empty. Like it was almost like having a fast pass times 10. Like you go to a ride and you would just instantly just be on it within like in the next 5 minutes. Like you were pretty much next in line for any ride that you wanted. But I'm getting besides the point. That was a different era in Japan. And I believe around 2022 or the end of 2021, when the country started opening up, you have all of these people, and there's multiple class of people. You have people such as students and like prospecting workers waiting for their entry so they can begin their new life here in Japan. And you had tons of people who wanted to travel in general all around the world, and especially in Japan, that caused like this huge influx to happen. And you mix that with like this gasoline of the Japanese yen just absolutely declining. And then you have like this hot pot of just like this flood of tourists and people coming in. It's a shocking wake up call, or it's a shock to the system, I would say. It's kind of like imagining like hopping out a warm shower and like walking directly into like the freeze and snow. That's kind of like what the influx of like foreigners and tourists in general was like here in Japan. And it's kind of caused like this, it kind of caused some side effects such as overcrowding, especially in some of those tourist destinations. The streets were even busy. I mean, you should see Shibuya these days. Like it is absolutely packed. You can't walk down certain areas surrounding Shibuya station. It's like watching the March of the Penguins trying to go through a tiny little tunnel, if you know what I mean. It is completely congested. But you mix that with, unfortunately, like certain, like I guess TikTok people and tourists, and also that guy Johnny Somali, who kind of just became like these media headlines of just like foreigner does X, Y, and Z in Japan. Foreigner destroys this historical monument or temple here in Japan. You know, at its worst, it created this anti-foreign propaganda, but I would say at its norm, it created this media narrative that foreigners are destroying Japan. I mean, hell, you have, which is, I think, an interesting phenomenon, foreigners who hate other foreigners too, that also contributes like this anti-foreign sentiment. I mean, if you go on places like the Japan Life subreddit, or the Tokyo subreddit, or you just go on any like Japan vlogger or Japan TikToker, you would see like tons of comments just kind of like buying into like this narrative. And yeah, when I think about this anti-foreign sentiment that happens here in Japan, you have the mixture between like the rise of like anti-foreign political messaging and like the growing number of comments coming from both foreigners who already live in Japan and Japanese people themselves that kind of create this tension. And in between that tension is people like us, people who want to come to Japan, respect the culture, and people who already live here who is wondering like, how does this impact my experience or soon to be experience here in Japan? Now, mind you, this anti-foreign sentiment, I am not saying that this is being shared by every Japanese person. It's kind of hard to like quantify how many people feel this way versus how many people don't. That's just the nature of media. Narrative can be spun and make something small seem large and something large seem small. But I can just talk about my experiences here over the last 9 years. And I kind of want to break them down into like the good parts and the bad parts. So I want to talk about some of the good, because my experiences here in Japan has been a mixture between both good and bad. Now, obviously, you have to think about the intersectionality of all of this. I am an American and a Black American and a male. So my experiences are going to differ from your experience or your soon-to-be experiences, depending on who's watching this. So going into that, I remember when I first came to Japan, I was an English teacher. This is about 2017. And one of the most shocking things was the level of hospitality that I got while living in Shikoku. I was living in a city called Kochi. I remember the first day that I got there, we went to this restaurant, me and one of my coworkers, and because we were like one of the only foreigners in town, now mind you, this is a small countryside city. It's weird to call it small because in America we deemed as a mid-sized city, but in a country where a 36 million population city is normal, this is a 500,000 pop city is considered small. I digress. I remember when I went into this restaurant and we was trying to figure our way through this menu. None of us can speak Japanese. We have maybe like 2 weeks of Duolingo in our system. And it was crazy because I think about, there was this couple that was in the restaurant who just treated us like to anything that we want. They were so happy to see these foreigners in their town trying their food that they was like, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried this? They pulled out the menu and they ordered us absolutely everything. You'd think it was a buffet happening inside that restaurant. And it was such a warm first impression that as someone who was new to Japan, who didn't speak the language, who didn't know anybody, that was a good sign for me. And it still sticks with me 9 years later. And shout out to the couple, wherever you are. You're probably not watching this, but I hope you guys are doing well because that was absolutely fantastic. And then I also think, so I'm going into like another experience right now. When I was in the countryside of Japan, I was also a DJ. And it was kind of cool, being like a black dude in Japan and being someone who was like kind of into hip hop. I became like this cultural touch point for many people in the city. So it afforded me certain experiences that I feel like a lot of other people didn't get to like experience. And being a DJ there, it was really cool because, I mean, let's be honest, it was marketing me partly because I'm black. And I don't like to also think because I'm cool as well. Like, I don't want to just like chalk everything up to my skin color because I'm a cool guy. Anyways, I digress. I remember like every single time I would like have like a DJ show or an event coming up and like having the bar owner who I would like work with and like have these shows at, to see my face and see like me on the advertisements and see how people recognize me like after a while of me DJing in the city. I won't call myself like a local celebrity, but I became someone popular in the city. And I do think that's because they were just embracing of like who I am. Like I was cool to them. I was unique to them. I was something that they wanted to like get to know and understand. So when I think about that time, I became somewhat of like a I won't call a celebrity, but I became somewhat popular in the city. I was a DJ, but then I also volunteered at the Coach's Fighting Dogs baseball stadium. And I remember I would serve people beer. You know, this stadium fills like several thousand people, and I would go in the field like I don't really watch baseball, believe it or not, even though I worked at a baseball stadium. So I don't know if they're called half times or what. People who watch sports, you can get at me in the comment section all you want. But during the breaks in the game, I remember going out on the field with like the dancers and like the little small events they have during that break period. And I was a part of the show. So I remember on like Friday and Saturday nights when I would like walk down places like Obiamachi, which is like this thing of like the downtown of Kochi, and people would just recognize me and people would like come up and say hello to me. It was a very surreal experience. I had this running joke with my friends. I was like, every time we went out, I was like, watch this, someone's gonna buy me a drink. And I kid you not, every single time somebody bought me a drink. I was like, I didn't have to spend money when I was in Kochi. And you can, maybe that's because I'm a foreigner, maybe because I'm me, I don't know. All I know is every time when I went out, I didn't have to spend money. And it was such an amazing experience. And I really enjoyed that cross connection that I had. Like, I'm this black guy, young at the time, 22 years old, living in Japan. And it felt very unique. It felt like a very special experience, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I wish more people can like get to see what that felt like. Just being unique in that sense. So at the same time, I think about the negative experiences that I had in that city as well. And you know, this one, I don't know how to say this. Like when I was like living in Kochi, Japan, sometimes even though it was cool to be this interesting person that people wanted to meet, it didn't necessarily feel like people wanted to get to know me as a person, but more so as an object. And it became apparent when like people will walk up to me who don't know me and start rapping hip hop lyrics to me. Like, yeah, what's going on? I remember this one time I was sitting on like a park bench just eating a hamburger, and these kids, and they're not even really kids, they're like probably 19, 21 years old at the time, just 1 or 2 years younger than me or 3 years younger than me, just start like rapping like and started doing like the yo homie yo. I'm not demonstrating that shit on camera right now, but like imagine someone trying to like do black mannerisms and like with a thick Japanese accent trying to rap to me like that was a little bit weird. It was also weird too, seeing blackface in Japan. That was really weird for me. I remember there was 3 instances of blackface. The first one, I was having a dinner party with my friends and we were watching TV, and like a Japanese actor just showed up dressed like Barack Obama, full black paint and everything, and it made for a very awkward dinner party, me being the only black person there. Like, that was kind of weird, and that kind of created a little bit of resentment. I think about, I went to like this very popular cafe on the top of Mount Godai-san. It's a beautiful cafe, and the mountain is absolutely beautiful, but they had a blackface poster. Like they were selling, I don't know what they were selling. Like they were selling like, I don't know, like some sort of like tea or sauce or syrup. This is like 9 years ago. But the lady, the little cartoonish lady, was clearly blackface. Like it was so shocking to me that one of the most popular destinations in town just had like a sign with just like a blackface on it. And I think the weirdest one was, it was a Halloween. I think this is a Halloween of what, 2017. If I find a photo, I'm going to post it in this video, and I'm sure I have this photo. This guy, I don't know, I think he was dressed as a boxer, maybe Muhammad Ali, whoever, Floyd Mayweather, whoever his boxing idol was, this Japanese dude, I mean, you gotta give him credit because he was like kind of committed. His whole body was like inked in black paint. It was weird and it was very offensive. And I don't know, this goes into like a little sidebar. There's a lot of Japan apologists that are probably getting ready to type in the comments right now. Like, you know, Japan doesn't understand, it's an island country. It's like, bro, at the time it was 2018 or 2017. Like the internet exists. 5G was either out or soon to be out. Do your Googles. I don't think it's hard to not be offensive, and I don't get that mentality that exists here, but also exists in other places because, I mean, the US is no stranger to blackface either, where dressing up like that is seen as cool. It was a bit weird to see, and also the fact that he didn't think it was offensive. So I guess another experience that I'm thinking about, because I also want to give a balanced view. I've been talking about Kochi for so long now. I want to like transition a little bit more into Tokyo because this is the place that I lived in for the past 7 years. And I gotta be honest, like spending my 20s in Tokyo has been absolutely amazing, and I loved it. For the mixture of like not only getting to interact with Japanese people and being part of Japanese culture and society, but also Tokyo, to a degree, is kind of like a melting pot city. If you're a foreigner, you kind of live in the foreign bubble and you get to meet people from like all around the world. So I think about just what my 20s meant to me, having friends from Australia, all over Europe, Russia, like North America, South America, I mean, Africa, I mean, you name it. I've had friends and relationships and relationships with people from all of those regions. And I think as a kid from Cleveland, Ohio, that is a very unique experience that I feel like you wouldn't get anywhere else. And I think that's the beauty of being a foreigner in a very homogenous culture, is that if you go to a place like Cleveland, or maybe you go to a place like the UK, I'm speculating here, these, we as people from all over the world, we don't really have an incentive to interact with each other. Like maybe if we introduce ourselves on a more personal level in these different countries, we'll get to know each other. But the fact that we're foreigners in Japan, we actually find comfort, even though we're from all over the world, with each other, because we have this shared experience of being simply a fish out of water, living in this city and this country of Tokyo, Japan. And that kind of created for this unique cultural exchange that I truly do believe that you won't get many places. And having Tokyo as a backdrop to all of that, being able to do cool shit around Shibuya and Shinjuku has been like absolutely fantastic. Like, I think I feel very lucky to have my life. I feel very few people have had as fun of a 20s I had living in Tokyo, Japan. And I would say that's one of the best parts about being a foreigner here. Now, I will say, to balance this out, it's easy to make friends as a foreigner here in Japan with other foreigners. It can be quite difficult in a city like Tokyo in particular to make friends with Japanese people. Now, again, I'm gonna give you some perspective where I'm at as a 30-year-old man and also going through my 20s. I don't speak Japanese, so let's put that point out there right now. Number two, I don't necessarily go out of my way to make friends with Japanese people. And I want to give a strong caveat what I mean by that. I know so many people, they move to the foreign country with the sole purpose of being like integrated into society. Whereas me, I just want to make friends with people who understand me, whether they're Japanese, Arabic, American, African, European, it doesn't matter. So I approach friendships differently than some people who are moving to a foreign country with the specific desire of a cultural exchange. And maybe that's due to the fact that I've been here for so long that that's no longer unique to me. Like it's just not for me. Like I don't want to have a conversation with somebody and be like, oh, you like ramen? Yes, I like ramen. Oh, you know how to use chopsticks? Come on. I'm past that now. So if I meet like a Japanese person who gets me, maybe they spend some time in America, they like listen to the same music that I listen to, they watch the same movies that I watch, and we're gonna catch a vibe. But I found, and I talked to many of my friends about this, I found that no matter the language ability, because there are Japanese people who do speak English for people like me who don't speak Japanese, even for my friends who are more fluent in Japanese, so many of them tell me it is damn near impossible for them to like make a sincere Japanese friend. Like, sure, maybe they might go drinking with you and you will have like this unique hangout, but there's very few people that's like, hey, I can just call one of my Japanese friends in my time of need. And that is like this interesting phenomenon that I think many of us foreigners feel here, that the more we integrate into society, even with like excellent language skills, you're always an outsider. And that feeling never really goes away. I mean, I've been here for 9 years and I still do not feel any part of Japanese society. And I think you can even feel this like on a more like political level, if you were to get into it. Like you think about during COVID, like I mentioned earlier in this video, like there was permanent residents, people who have permanent residencies here, spousal visas here, who left the country and then the country got shut down. And when they tried to get back into the country, they were like, nope, no new foreigners. And these people were like, yo, but I live here. I have my documents. I'm a permanent resident. I have a spousal visa. I have a wife and kid here. And they were essentially blocked. And I think that is almost like a microcosm or like a metaphor that kind of like describe like what it means to be social here, which is, sure, you're a part of society, but you're not really one of us. And you get reminded about that in many different areas of your life. And I think that's why so many people that I know who move to Japan eventually leave Japan, because I gotta be honest, I've been here for like 9 years and it never really felt like home, if you know what I mean. Beyond just talking about the idea of not connecting to Japanese people, I think me being here, one of the most like more difficult experiences that I've had as a foreigner is one of the main ones I'm sure everybody can relate to is when you get on the train, people for some reason do not sit next to you. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens. And I'm not the first content creator to ever make this point, but it's really weird. I don't really know how to describe it. You can be on a rush hour packed train and everybody will be standing. Have you ever seen some of these train videos where they're like stuffing people in? I promise you what you don't see in that frame is that there's a foreigner sitting in that car with a seat available. Like it's so weird because I've sat on the plane many a times. And this is some Japan apologists out there that say, oh, the reason why Japanese people don't like want to sit next to you on the train because they're afraid that you might start speaking English to them. Why would I do that? Like, what do y'all think when y'all say something like that? Do you think that they think that I'm going to break out in a song and dance when they sit next to me? Like, come on, man. Like, it is a train. Most people on the train these days have their headphones on, their AirPods. I am listening to music. And then they're going to make this thing like, oh, you know, you wear cologne and that's why Chinese people don't want to sit next to you. Man, I wish that was the reason. Have you been on the Tokyo train during the summertime? It stinks. And I promise you, it is not the cologne. Like, I promise you. So if it was like a smell thing, it ain't coming from me. I can guarantee that. So I never really understood that. And being here for 9 years, I don't think I ever will understand that. It feels isolating. And it goes into like, it further goes into this point of like, you're not one of us. Like it's these subtleties. And the thing about microaggressions, and as a black man, I feel like I have a master's degree in microaggressions at this point in my life, is that you can't always be sure that the person isn't sitting next to you due to racism, but you also can't not be sure either, if that makes sense. Like it's just like a pattern. It's like, oh, me as a foreign man living here in Japan, for some reason, there's a phenomenon where people are less likely to sit next to me. But I can't look at any individual person who don't sit next to me as like, hey, you're being racist. Sometimes people just want to stand. Sometimes people just have like, what's it called? A train stop that's coming like immediately. So yeah, speaking of trains, I've had some weird experiences in general when it comes to like riding the train here in Japan, whether it's being on the platform and having someone just like shoulder check you. And if you guys don't know what a shoulder check is, imagine you like walking on a train platform. And this actually can happen throughout the city. This happened to me many a times and to many of my friends, where you're walking basically in an empty area of like whatever place you're in, and someone like purposely get in line with you and then just bump you on purpose. And I've went through that experience numerous times where people just like bumped into me. And you know, me being from Cleveland, when someone does that, that's a clear sign of aggression. And I do take that as a sign of aggression here in Japan. But the difference is, this is the thing for anyone thinking of coming into Japan, is that if you were to get into an altercation with a Japanese person, you're going to jail. And they may not go to jail even if it's their fault. The problem with being a foreigner here in Japan, this goes into some of the more like systemic issues, is that the Japanese police will often take the side of the Japanese person, even if your language is good. And anyone who ever went through the Japanese legal system here, they can arrest you for, I believe, 20 days, basically without any charge, just suspicion, and say, quote unquote, conclude their investigation. And that makes it very challenging here because you will experience some, on the minor end, micro or small aggressions towards you, and on the higher end, more overt forms of aggression. And you have to be very careful with how you engage in those sort of situations, because it can land you in jail. And I've had Japanese people get into my face, basically invade my personal space, get what I would take is like threatening with me, and I've had to like essentially be the bigger person, because I know if I put my hands on this dude, I'm probably gonna go to jail. You know, as a foreigner in Japan, you basically learn to take the higher role if you're being smart, because I've had plenty of friends that have gotten arrested. And I know me as a black man, I am not trying to have any interactions with the police, even here. And that's something that's, I think, maybe might be more unique to me, because since I moved to Tokyo, have been stopped by the cops like 10 times. Like I think the count is definitely 10 plus for sure. And it's always over some innocuous stuff. I mean, like it was a time, it hasn't happened in I would say about 2 years, but it was a time period where I was getting like stopped and searched. Like I would walk out of the train station with just like my camera bag, and someone would be like, and the cop would be like, hey, do you mind if I pat you down to see if you got any weapons? Like, do you have any weapons on you? And personally, I will always say no when they like ask to pat me down. And for the most part, they tend to let me go just after a couple line of questioning. But that sort of interaction have happened several times. Also, the ID checks have happened to me several times as well, where I remember this time I was like walking out of Starbucks, and like this lady cop walk up to me, was like, hey, can we see some ID? Can we check your visa or whatever? Like your Zayu card, I believe is what they call it. And I'm looking like, why? Like, what am I doing? I just left a Starbucks. Like, why am I being stopped? And when I talk to my Japanese friends about it, they say, well, the cops have the right to stop anybody, Japanese citizens or not, to like, check their ID and stuff like that. But then I ask my Japanese friends, have you ever been stopped by the cops? And the vast majority of them would say no. And so I know this pattern is something happening to me, probably because I'm a foreigner. Man, and speaking of which, this kind of reminds me of one of the more uglier moments I've ever had with my interactions with the police here in Japan, which is I got stopped by the cops twice in 10 minutes. Like, I remember it was like midnight. I was living in Saitama and I was just going for a walk. I would just listen to music. The first cop stopped me to like basically do that whole ID check shit, verify that I am who I am, and then they let me go. And then I end up walking, I kid you not, like 2 blocks. And I got stopped again. Like I got stopped again. I'm like, yo, your man just stopped me like 5 minutes ago. And like I forgot what exactly happened to me in the cop. I give him my ID again, and I'm like, yo, what is going on? And I know, come on. I know why they did it. It's there's only one reason why they did it. Man, as I record this video, when I started this video, it was with the intention to talk about the good and the bad. And trust me, I wouldn't have been here for like 9 years if it wasn't a lot of good that happened to me here in Japan. But right now, I guess I'm just venting at this point. And this is probably gonna be like the final ugly point that I want to cover about like just being a foreigner in Japan is the acceptance of housing discrimination. Like, this is something that, regardless if you're black, man, woman, American, African, Chinese, it doesn't matter. The amount of housing discrimination here it's astounding. It is absolutely astounding. It is so normalized that when you work with real estate agents, they know to either A, just not recommend you like houses that they know do not accept foreigners, or the less experienced agents would tell you straight up, hey, that place that you was looking for, yeah, they say they don't rent to foreigners. And Chinese people always use this excuse, well, it's going to be too difficult to communicate with them, or they don't understand our rules. Yeah, how can you make such a blanket statement like that? I never understood that. For one, there's plenty of foreigners who speak Japanese. Number two, even if you don't speak Japanese, you get told, I've been here for 9 years. I know the rules. I know when to take out trash, when not to take out trash. And they always reference things like trash and like these other minor maintenance things why they want to rent to you, but it's really like it's based in this discriminatory mindset of like, because I've had a foreigner who live here who done something bad to my property, or because I've heard that foreigners do something bad to people's property, I don't want to deal with foreigners. And it blows my mind. And this is again to you, Japan apologists. It blows my mind that people are able to forgive this mindset, because when you use the word foreigner in the context of being a Japanese person, talking about I do not want to rent to a foreigner, you are talking about what? 7 billion people from around the world with different cultural experiences and different attitudes and different levels of cleanliness. How can you just make a blanket statement? That, to me, to be quite honest, it kind of comes across as culturally condescending. So I think I kind of cover all of the bad parts about being a foreigner here in Japan. Overall, when I think about my experiences here in Japan, and I think about how my experiences mesh with this rise of anti-foreign sentiment. On one hand, it makes me nervous because I do see myself living in Japan for the long term. maybe not forever, but for the long term, if I do have a family here or start to lay down roots, it makes me worry that this country would not look out for my best interests. So yeah, I hope I did this video and this topic justice. This has been my experiences being a foreigner here in Japan, especially as a Black American. Now, I do know that my experiences are unique to me and other people will have similar yet contrasting experiences as well. But these are the ones that are mine. And I just want to end this video with saying that overall, I know I mostly talked about some of the more bad and ugly parts, but I wouldn't be here for 9 years if it wasn't overall great. Tokyo has been not only a net positive, but it's been a place that I loved and I've been fortunate enough to call home for like the past 7 years, and Japan in general for like damn near 9 years. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I am back on YouTube. I know for anyone that's been following me and has been subscribed, it's been like 3 or 4 years and I'm back. I'm going to talk about my life here in Japan, and hopefully you guys can see more of my videos soon. Peace.